Yeah, the topic we have here is road construction. So in rural communities and the challenges that the engineers faced during road construction, because most times in rural areas you have communities with less connectivity. You don't have major roads connecting to such communities. So you now have to talk about movement of equipment and machineries, movement of people to such kind of community. So this topic is very, very important because it helps to go to the in-depth of all these road construction in rural communities, and also to help us look at the challenges that is accustomed to this type of construction. Yeah, for our introduction, we know that road construction in rural communities is a critical driver of socio-economic development, because for development to come to a particular place, you must have an access road, to such a community. So it improves connectivity, right? Then it also facilitates access to essential services. Then it supports local economics, and it also enhances quality of life, because if you have that access road, your mobility from one place to another is assured, and it is very, very important that you have quality road to give quality life. So why it matters is that first, safety. So it reduces accident and ensures safety travel for people and goods. So it helps to ensure safety of travel for people and goods. Then better access, because if you have good road network, you also have better access, better connectivity. Then economic growth, right? So it helps to improve the economic growth of the community. Then stronger communities. A good community has a good road, right? So it helps the community to grow stronger economically, right? Then agricultural development. So it helps communities to be able to have access roads to where the agricultural products are, whereby they can now transport such agricultural products from the villages to the urban cities. Then disaster reliance, so it helps to mitigate and manage disasters, because maybe there's a fire accident somewhere and you need a fire truck in such a community, so helps you to get to such a place on time, right? Yeah, the common problems with this type of road construction in rural areas is that you have poor accessibility. So because there is no access road, you are there to even construct the access road. So for you to even access the community becomes a problem. So difficult travel, then isolation and limited access to services. So you have just few access to basic services. So it's only what the community can offer at that particular time that you have access to, and it is only what you can bring to that community at that particular period that you can have access to. Then we have high transportation cost. So because the road is under construction, it becomes imperative for high transportation cost, because other rural drivers may tend to increase their prices and all those things. So increased vehicle wears and time, leading to high costs of everything, both materials, both transportation. Then we have economic stagnation, because due to lack of the basic amenities like the road infrastructure, so it tends to limit the economic growth of such a community. So it limited market access and reduce income opportunities, because since economic stagnation is there, automatically it also reduces income opportunities. Then health and education impact. So it delayed medical care, and it's and difficult access to school. Yeah, we have social isolation. So due to the fact that the community is not connected to the other urban region of the country. So it becomes very, very difficult for them to, learn some of the new things, be it technology, be it on medical healthcare and all those things. So social isolation is very, very, very paramount in such kind of a society that is disconnected from the urban centers. So community remain disconnected from opportunities and growth. Yeah, the next thing we have is the benefit. So the benefit of linking the urban centers to the rural community. So with this kind of link, it tends to help to improve mobility. So there's mobility from the urban region to the rural communities. Then better quality of life. So you can see community with good access road tends to have better quality of life, right? Because there's an access road, they can easily access the hospitals, they can easily go to school, they can go to their farmlands to get products and so on and so forth. Then we have stronger market access, so it's easier for them to also reach out to the market, sell their products and so on and so forth. Then we have a high productivity. So if you have good access road to your community, your community becomes very productive because the schools are working, the hospitals are there, they are working, the market is functioning. Those going to the farm can go to the farm and get the products, and you can see all this comes together to increase the productivity of such a community. Then long time reliance. So there will be reliance between the urban and the rural community. So you will see that reliance in between them, and sustainable development. So you see that because of the access road that the rural community has, there will be sustainable development. People will be encouraged to even move to the rural community to develop it. You see development in such kind of a community. Yeah, the next thing we have is the key features. So what are those features that are obtainable in community road development? So we have the durability, that built to withstand traffic, weather and time. So the road in question must be durable, to be able to withstand the traffic that may occur, because some rural area may in the future turn to urban areas. So you must need to put all those into consideration into your design, so that at the end of the day you'll be able to accommodate such change over time. Then it must be cost effective. That means to optimize design and materials for long term value. So your design must be cost effective. Then it must be also be sustainable, because environmentally responsible designs and construction must be sustainable. So your design must be very much sustainable. Then low maintenance, because it's a rural area, so you are only trying to create that access road to such an environment. So it should be low maintenance, so that with time you can easily just send few people there to do the maintenance. That means the construction itself must be very, very sound, so that at least it reduces the cost of maintenance. Then we have safety. So the road itself must be safe, right? You must use all the road curbs and all those things that required for the safety of the road, to ensure safety travel for all users. So be it lorries, be it trucks, be it normal drivers and also all that. So you must just ensure that there is safety for all users. So the number six point we have here is the economic and social impact. So what is the economic impact of the said road on the community? Then what is also the social impact of the said road to the community? So the first one we have is job creation, because in as much as the road is going to be constructed, you are going to be needing people from that community to help in the construction of the road. So automatically it tends to create job, you know generate local employment during construction and maintenance. Then we have reduced maintenance cost, because quality road reduces repair cost and extend service life. So if you construct a quality road, it's going to normally reduce, the maintenance, and also the service life of the road will be extended. Then we have increased connectivity. So it's going to help to increase the connectivity between the rural community and the urban community. So this is, going to be visible connectivity. So, and also helps in maintaining that movement between both the urban and the rural communities. Then increased connectivity is what we just talked about. Then improves livelihood, because in as much as the road has been constructed, it's going to, create opportunities for trade, then services and economic growth. So it's going to, help to increase the livelihood of the people in terms of the trade, then the services that will be rendered, and the economic growth of such a community. So the other thing to consider is the environmental benefits. So for the environmental benefit, you are going to have erosion control, because such construction will take care of all the erosion parts on the road. Construction of the drainage, culverts and so on. So proper drainage and slope protection reduces soil erosion. Then we also have water management, because effective drainage systems prevent waterlogging and flooding. So because of the road that is going to be constructed in the community, automatically it helps to manage, the water movement in the community. Then we have ecosystem protection. So minimizes environmental, disturbance, and protects rural habitats. So because of the road, it's going to help, protect the ecosystem. Then we have climate resilience. So strengthen infrastructure to withstand extreme weather and climate impact. So because of the new road that has been constructed, you are going to factor in your climate and other items into the design of the road, so that you understand the type of cement you are going to use, the strength of the cement you are going to use for the road, the type of load that is coming over the load and the road. So this will help you to, understand how you go about your design. Yeah, we now have the best practices. So if you want to construct a road in a rural area, what are those best practices to take note of? So the first thing is a proper design. So we have to conduct a survey and a design as per terrain and standard. So the survey and the design must be as per the terrain of the road and the standards that is being used in that locality, maybe in that country. Then we have skilled workforce. So you must use trained and experienced labor for quality construction. So you don't just get people anyhow and use for a specific construction. So you get either professionals, you get people that you've trained, because sometimes you do training for people to understand what you actually want before you engage them in such construction. Then we have quality material. Use durable, locally sustainable, and tested material. Then we also have regular inspection, because you need to always be there to do your inspection, right? Inspect during and after construction to ensure quality compliance. So the essence of the inspection is just for you to ensure that quality compliance. Then we have drainage management. So ensure proper drainage to protect pavement and the surrounding. So just to protect your pavement and the surrounding, to ensure that your construction don't even create erosion around the road. So you make sure that there is that proper drainage, so that you protect your pavement that you've constructed and also the surrounding environment. Then we have routine maintenance. So this routine maintenance helps you to perform periodic maintenance. Such maintenance helps to extend, the road life, and also helps to create safety for the users plying the road. So we have the key takeaways and from this whole bulletin, and the most important ones are rural roads transform lives and communities. So if you have a good road network, it improves the standard of living of the people and also the economic importance, to the community. Then we have good roads, drive economic growth and reduces poverty. So if you have a good road, you can even access the town easily, between few minutes you are back home. Then sustainable construction ensure a long time benefit. So it's a long time investment, because it's a long time investment that the government do, because a road can stay up to 20, 30, 40, 50 years depending on be it a flexible pavement or a rigid pavement. But it's a long time sustainable investment that the government tend to embark on. Then collaboration between governments, communities, and stakeholder is key. So before you go to a rural community to initialize a road construction project, there should be that liaise between the government and the community so that the project can move and run smoothly. And there are sometimes you even need to do negotiations, you need to do one or two for just the road construction to move on smoothly. Then investing in rural roads. Yeah, investing in rural roads is investing in the future. So if your rural roads are, great, that means there's every tendency that the future is going to be great. So you need to actually put in, the funds available to make sure that there's access road between the urban to the rural community, then even from the rural community to the market areas, the farm areas, so that there will be that flow, from the market to the farm, from the farm to the market, then from the rural communities to the urban centers. Yeah, so this is a final message. A road is more than just a pathway, then it is a lifeline for rural communities. So it is very, very important for the rural communities and the road infrastructures in the rural communities, the market area, the farm, the schools, the hospitals are, done so that you can have that connectivity. So the topic again is road construction in rural communities and the challenges that ensues from such construction.